Hello and welcome to James Hill Sports. It is a pleasure to interview my main man. He is one of the best football minds on the planet Earth. And certainly when we think about college football and HBCU football, we look to the highest of seven hills. And that's where we find the gentleman, ladies and gentlemen. His name is Coach Willie Simmons. Coach, first and foremost, happy homecoming weekend. How are you? How's the family? How are the student athletes and everybody on the highest of seven hills?
Well, thanks, James. It's always an honor to be on. I can speak personally for the football team. We're in good spirits, great shape. I know there's some rattlers that are in recovery mode right now after a week of blowing it out here on the highest of seven hills. But it was a great week. It started out the right way. A lot of great festivities, a lot of networking opportunities. Just the experience that we call homecoming here is special. I think we all know that, and obviously it was a phenomenal week. And obviously culminated with a great team win. Probably played our most complete game all season against Prairie View. Was able to have a huge 45-7 victory. And so again, got great news at the end of the game that we had clinched the East. So one of our main goals this season was accomplished. And so all in all, phenomenal week. And again, just blessed to be in this position.
Coach, congratulations on that victory, clinching the East. And again, teams set out with goals during the summer, and they want to achieve those goals. But just talk a little bit about that. I know there's a bigger picture, but talk about the first goal is out of the way, and you can move forward knowing that you've accomplished the first thing you set out to do.
Well, obviously, whenever you start a season, you set goals for your team. And we kind of work backwards with our goal setting. So obviously we start with the main goal in mind, which is a Black College National Championship. Well, in order to do that, you obviously have to go to the Celebration Bowl. When you go to the Celebration Bowl, you got to win the Swac. To win the Swac, you got to win your division. To win your division, you got to beat your traditional rivals. And so all those things, we set goals for ourselves, and we talked about it this training camp. And then we started really focusing on being where our feet were or feet are, and just taking it one day at a time. I think that's the biggest thing that we've learned as a football team. Yes, that Golden Nugget Celebration Bowl is looming. That SWAC championship is looming. But for us, we got to focus on what's in front of us. And the guys have been able to compartmentalize and do that. And when we got to the opportunity to win the Eastern Divisional crown, we took care of business, and that's all you want to do. So our number one goal, aside from a Black College National Championship, is to position ourselves to control our own destiny. And we've been able to do that this year with wins over Jackson State, Alabama State, our divisional games, and now winning our cross-divisional games as well to put ourselves in this great position.
Coach, when you look at the opportunity to compete and win games and play against some of the teams or the entire SWAC, if you will, and be competitive. Famu has been in the SWAC now for the last 3 seasons, or this is year 3, but just talk about being a highly competitive, one of the best teams and products and brands, if you will, and universities, obviously in Black college football, but also in the SWAC as it is.
Well, obviously, we talk about our brand a lot, and that brand we feel is a national brand, and it speaks to everything, not just our academic prowess, but our athletic prowess, the Marching 100, our alumni base, everything affiliated with Florida A&M. We talk about that we're excellence a bunch, and so for our football team, we get to be representatives of that excellence, and every chance we take the field, especially opportunities like this past weekend, we were on ESPNU for the entire country to see. We want to exemplify that excellence. And I thought the guys did a great job of showing America what makes FAMU one of the greatest places to be, in this country.
Coach, when you look at playing college football in the state of Florida, and then you also look at college football and the game of football in the state of Texas, arguably, outside of California, these are the hotbeds, if you will, and you know what it's like to be in Texas and you know what it's like to be in Florida. Just talk a little bit about that competitive nature, and also Prairie View and their opportunity to showcase, if you will, on the big stage.
No question. Obviously, I spent 3 years out in Texas as a head coach at Prairie View before I got here. Born and raised here, grew up here. So there's that old age-old debate as to who has the best football or who has the best football players. And it's a blessing to even be in that conversation. You know, obviously, there's no right or wrong answer. There's phenomenal football in Florida, Texas, really all throughout the Southeast, but other regions as well. But just the sheer number of athletes that those two respective states have, makes us arguably the two top football states in the country. And so we have two institutions, both A&Ms, both the oldest public HBCUs in our respective states. There's a lot of history involved. And so it's always great to play these type of games because you start talking a lot about the history and the culture that and the academic excellence that both schools exude. And so I was blessed to be able to work at Prairie View, learned a lot. And obviously I'm extremely blessed to be the head man here at Florida A&M because there are two institutions that put out some of the best and the brightest that the country is seeing, that the world is seeing, and they'll continue to do so.
Coach, going back to the contest, 45-7, the final. In the first quarter, you look at Famu Lee putting 14 on the board. Musa does his thing. He has 14 of 25 for 272, 3 and 1 on that occasion. But take us back to the first quarter. You put 14 on Prairie View.
Well, we talked all week about starting fast, and we really wanted to do so. The last few weeks, we've kind of gotten off the sluggish starts. And so we really challenged the offense to come out the gate swinging, to strengthen the run game, to be efficient in the passing game, and to make the routine play. And for a team that's as explosive as we are, that routine play, as you can see, turns into explosive plays. We threw a flat route to Kamari Young that turned into a 59-yard reception. We threw a swing pass to K-Dot, Jamari Shareed, turned into a 52-yard touchdown. We handed the ball off to those running backs, and they ripped off 20-yard runs. And so it's really just doing the little things right. And for us, we're learning that more and more, that we don't have to try to go out and make plays. We just have to go out and do our jobs. And because we've been blessed with immense talent, the plays will come. And the guys really internalized that this week, did a great job of blocking out the distractions. And we were able to jump out early on those guys and sustain the lead and allow the defense to do what it does best, which is get after the quarterback.
Your ground and pound, your running attack. When you look at Mr. Burke, Mr. Dean, Mr. Jennings, and Mr. Yant, just talk about those gentlemen moving the chain, carrying the mail, moving the football down the field.
Yeah, I thought they did an amazing job. Obviously, it starts up front, so we give out players of the game every week. This week, the players of the game on offense were the offensive linemen. We felt that the way they protected, the way they opened up lanes and holes in the run game, thought they played an extremely well game. And I thought the running backs did a great job of pressing the line of scrimmage, being patient, trusting their eyes, get behind their pass and being dynamic, making guys miss. I think they all average over 6.3 yards a carry, which is phenomenal. I think Terrell, Jacquez, and Burt were all over 7 yards a carry. I think Dean was right at 6.3. So when you can have that type of production running the football, it makes it very, very difficult for a defense to contain you. We had 451 yards in 56 plays. That's 8.8 yards per play, which is a very high percentage. And so it was really an efficient football game. And when you can effectively run the ball, it keeps the pressure off the defense. And that's what, when the defense is strong as ours, being able to run the ball and keep those guys off the field, I think makes us, arguably one of the top teams in the country.
Coach, the passing game was also on point in full effect when you look at the gentlemen that were able to make some plays back there in Shareed. You look at Mr. Dixon and also Mr. Pruitt, among others. And Manigo was in the house, and so was Young. But just talk a little bit about Riley, all you guys, Jennings, everybody contributed as part of the Famu, if you will.
Well, we've done a great job all year. Jeremy has us spreading the ball around. I think that was one of the the things about losing a player of Xavier Smith's caliber is that you don't replace those receptions, those yards, that production with just one player. You got to be able to spread the ball around, and we have a plethora of effective pass catchers. Nick Dixon, like you alluded to, Marcus Riley, K. Dot, and even the tight ends, Manigo, and the tight ends have had a really, really big impact on us in the passing game this year. Combined, they may have more touchdown passes than the receivers. And so having those big targets, Kamari Young, Jeremiah Pruitt, Kobe Gross, even though he was out with an injury, just having those big 6'3 plus, 230 to 40 plus targets there for Jeremy to find over the middle and in the red zone has really been an asset for us. And so we definitely threw the ball well, 272 yards. Again, with limited opportunities, very explosive. We had a lot of explosive plays, 13 explosive plays in 56 snaps. That's almost one every 4 plays, which is amazing. Explosive play obviously is a run over 12, a pass over 15, and we averaged one every 4 plays this past weekend, which shows the big playability of this offense.
Coach, second quarter, Bubba was able to guide Trezon and the guys into the end zone, if you will. Both teams score 7 each. Take us into the second quarter and what that looked like when you looked at Prairie View and also Famu.
Well, offensively, I thought the second quarter was marred by self-inflicted wounds. I think we had 3 drops in the second quarter. So I attributed at halftime to guys trying to make plays, like I talked about. Instead of just letting the play come to them, Moose threw great balls, and we had 3 big drops, one on third down. So, again, trying to do a little bit too much, maybe because of the homecoming crowd, maybe because we were up 14-0, and now everybody feels like they got to eat, so to speak. But we gotten back into our rhythm. We played really well. Defense made a phenomenal play there. Jalen Glaze got a huge interception right there before halftime. Got us all the way down to the plus side of the field, and we were able to put one in a couple of plays later. So that was a huge swing. We always talk about winning the middle late. That's the last 4 minutes of the second quarter, the first 4 minutes of the third quarter. And we were able to do that with the late touchdown going into halftime. We got the ball coming out, and we were able to drive it down the field and score. So basically, that's a 14-point swing. And so it's a testament to the defense of creating turnovers, but also a testament to the offense of capitalizing and being able to get the ball into the end zone right before halftime and then coming out for the third.
Coach, third quarter, FAMU 10, Prairie View nothing in that one. Shutout. Take us into the third quarter. What did you see in that particular quarter, and what are your takeaways?
Well, we just felt that the defense was playing really well, so we didn't want to take too many risks and gambles, and so we committed to running the football. We got into a little bit of tempo, and Jeremy made the right read. We had an up-tempo play where we had 3 receivers bunched into the boundary. They give us a loaded box. We're whipping the ball out there. They lead those, they cover down those guys. We're going to hand the ball off to a light box. And because of the tempo, they weren't lined up. Moose literally threw a ball that lateral to K-Dot. And typically on those plays, if you get 5, that's an efficient play. But K-Dot had his old high school running back days come back out of them. Broke a tackle down the sideline, had a great move on the sideline, and then ran through 2 more tackles and raced, I think, 51 yards to the end zone. So, again, just trying to be conservative but dynamic. Blew the game open. And that speaks to what I told the guys last week, that over my years as a play caller, and every play caller can attest, there have been some average to bad play calls that we've made that end up making you look like a genius. There have been some amazing play calls that make you look like a bad play caller. That play made me look like a genius. All we did was take the ball and throw to the open guy and block the corner, and he did the rest himself. That none of that was drawn up. He just turned into the football player that he is. And so I think that's one of the things that, people, I think fans have to understand, that, a lot of times these guys making dynamic plays. But again, third quarter was very fun, and they really blew the game open and got it out of reach. So much so that we started to pull the starters there early in the fourth.
Coach, fourth quarter, 14-0 FAMU. Again, a shutout. You get a couple touchdowns. Take us back to the fourth quarter as you close the game, seal the deal, so to speak, and what that looks like.
Well, again, we felt really confident that defensively, we were playing really good football. So same thing, you get conservative, you commit yourself to running the ball. And that's what we did. And we marched the ball all the way down the field running it and was able to punch one in. And then they came out, the game was out of reach, and they just tried to slowly claw themselves their ways back into it. Made a decision to pass the ball. And lo and behold, threw Tevin Griffey his first career interception. And he was able to return it to the house to put us up 45-7. And so, again, my whole thought process was, hey, let's run the ball. Let's speed the game up. Let's get out of here. Game's out of reach. I have the utmost respect for Bubba McDowell, a guy that I work with, a guy that I consider a friend. And that's always a tough thing in this profession when you play one of your buddies in the profession and y'all on separate sidelines. So I wanted to make sure I was gracious in our winning the game. And so took the starters out, put the backups in, handed the ball off. And fortunately, we were still able to score a point and then have a big defensive touchdown to really put the game out of reach. So great team effort across the board. We didn't lose any quarter, won all 4 of them. And you do that consistently, you have the type of outcomes that we had this past weekend.
Coach, can you talk a little bit about Mr. Tevin Griffey? You're talking about a third generation icon, if you will, when you look at his father, what he did in the major leagues, and obviously his grandfather, and those 2 gentlemen were able to play together in Seattle. And everybody knows what Ken Griffey Jr. did. But Tevin's a young man out of Orlando from DP who paid his dues, who worked hard until his number was called. And he's been a part of your program. I've watched him work. But talk a little bit about Mr. Griffey.
Yeah, I challenge the guys every year to understand what their respective roles are. I tell the team, every member on this team has a role. Some of those roles are huge roles. Jeremy Musa has a huge role. He's asked to be our starting quarterback, the face of the program, play great, because if he doesn't, there's going to be ridicule coming his way. So he gets that mandate that his role is kind of similar to mine as a head coach. I got to be on every day, don't get to wear my emotions on my sleeve. There's an expectation for me to perform at the highest level, but that's the quarterback. And so it just kind of trickles down from there. Azale Major has a role, Eric Smith, TJ Lee, all those guys have roles. But then you look at Tevin Griffey, well, what's his role been? It's been to be a phenomenal special teams player. He's a 3 to 4 phase guy, really takes pride in those units, runs down on punt, has some big hits, goes in and tries to block kicks and hold up for K-Dot. We've had some huge returns. Runs down on kickoff coverage. He does everything probably except kick return. But just being a selfless guy, obviously I know would love to play more varsity snaps at corner. But right now, this is not his role. And so he's embracing the role that he has, really doing a great job of it. And I think that's a lesson for all of our guys because, of course, everybody wants to be the man. Everybody wants to play. It's not the way football operates. It's not Little League soccer anymore where everyone gets a trophy. We got to get the guys ready to play that we feel confident in that's going to go out there and perform. And so there are some guys that have not played very much this year, but they're playing a lot more snaps on special teams. And at the end of the day, if you want to play, find a way to get yourself on the field. And Tevin has done that for the last couple of years. We're really taking pride in being a big time special teams player.
Coach, speak to that in terms of do your 111, be a good citizen, be a great student athlete. Nobody can outwork you. Continue to do what you have to do physically and mentally to be ready. Talk a little bit about that part of it. And again, some young men understand that, and some people don't realize what that's all about.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and all those points are things I try to instill into these guys every day. Even today's team meeting, I talk to them about being a grad assistant and about being a scout team player. The effort that the scout team guys give has a profound impact on our abilities with the varsity squad to perform on Saturday. If those guys don't give us great looks, we're not prepared for the speed, the schemes, the techniques that we have to use to be successful on game day. So those guys are like our sparring partners. Obviously you had a big heavyweight fight last night, Tyson Fury, won in a split decision where his training involves sparring. So he has to find guys who are similar to the guy he's going to fight, and they have sparring sessions where he gets used to whether the guy's a southpaw or a traditional fighter, whether he has whatever style he fights in. And so those guys have to mirror that. Well, that's our scout team. And so if you take that role seriously and do it to the best of your ability, one, it shows that you're selfless, that you care about team, that you're a guy that understands the process of what it takes to earn your keep and earn your ability to be on this team. And again, you're willing to do your 111. We use that term, we're talking about me doing my one part of the 11 overall pieces that make this thing go, on offense, defense, special teams. And so that's a huge commitment that we got to have. We got to be selfless in our approach to the game. We got to be willing to do the dirty work. And as a leader, sometimes I have to set that example. I use analogies of grad assistants, those guys that do our job, that don't do our jobs, but guys that break down film and, do a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that people don't see. Well, it's nothing to come in and see me breaking down film or to see me, making a copy. I don't just always pawn those jobs off on the grad assistants. They have enough jobs to do on their own. So we make that joke. Once a GA, always a GA. So as a head coach, I still have a little bit of grad assistantship in me because I'm not too big to do the little things. When I walk out of the field house, I see paper on the ground. I'm gonna pick it up. I'm gonna pick it up and I'm gonna throw it in the trash can. Because again, I have pride for this university, and I'm not too big to pick up trash, right? And that's just the attitude you got to have in life, because we all have to, quote unquote, get it out the mud and start at a place and work our way to the top. Very rarely do we get a chance to walk in the door as the president, the CEO, the boss, the leader. Typically we come in some type of servant role, and we got to work our way up. And so we develop habits of having that mindset of working hard in everything we do, of being selfless, not caring about the pay as much, not caring about the perks and the benefits as much, but really being committed to being my very best because it's in me. Then I think, you can find success in life. And that's something that we're continuing to instill into these young men. And I think the vast majority are really starting to understand what we're talking about.
Coach, the Bragg Memorial Stadium, it's been upgraded. It's an iconic venue. And when you think about FAMU football over the years, you think about Bragg. I can reminisce and think about the Southern game back in, I think it was 2019. Take us back to yesterday. And I know you focused on the game, and all you can really focus on are what's inside the lines, but take us to that particular venue and some of the special moments and special occasions over the years. Bragg Memorial is definitely a special place.
No question about it. And my memories of Bragg, start all the way back when I was a young boy in the late 80s, coming here to watch my god brother Eddie Battle play on in Bragg Stadium for Coach Ken Riley. And then it, continued throughout my formative years in middle and high school, coming back to watch games, especially once I became a recruited student athlete, to be able to come over and watch games as a sophomore, as a junior. Even though FAMU wasn't really heavily recruiting me, because at the time I was a highly recruited student athlete, and that was kind of before the era of top recruits considering HBCUs like they do today. But I still wanted to come to games. And so those are my memories. And then coming back as a spectator, after my playing career was over. Even once I started coaching, my wife's a graduate, obviously, and, she doesn't miss a homecoming. And so if we had a bye week, I was coming here to see our family and trying to come to a family football game. And now that I get to walk the sideline every week, man, it's just an amazing feeling. And so just to be able to run those memories through my mind, to be able to bask in the experience that is a FAMU homecoming. Like I said, once the game starts, I'm locked into what happens between the white lines, but coming out of the tunnel, coming out from halftime, seeing the March 100 on the field, seeing, panning the stadium to see every seat in the house packed, both end zones packed out. Man, you're talking about an amazing environment. I mean, there are not many venues that can have that type of experience. And we had a lot of top tier student athletes, prospective student athletes that were in attendance. And many of them went, left blown away by just the atmosphere of what a family football game feels like. So again, great time this weekend, great for our program. I think it's going to really do wonders for us to be able to go out and recruit a certain type of student athlete and continue to move this program in the right direction.
Coach, 7-1 on the season. The saga continues and the winning streak continues this season, whether it be at Bragg or away. but just talk a little bit about the great foundation for a season 7-1, and you move forward. You're going into Alabama A&M.
Well, it's been a fun ride so far. Not only blemishes to an FBS opponent. We're undefeated in conference play, ranked in the FCS top 25. So that's not why we do it, but it is nice to be recognized for the work that you've done on the football field. That poll is voted on by the FCS coaches. I'm one of those voting members. And so, I recognize what other teams are doing across the country, especially in the HBCU landscape. North Carolina Central is playing phenomenal football. I voted them in the FCS top 10. Tennessee State is playing really good football. Voted them in the FCS top 25, I believe. And so just to be able to, be recognized for the job that we do is something that we're all proud of. But the main goal is always to be 1-0, and so this week, that's the goal. And we try to make sure our guys don't get outside themselves and start looking around us at the accolades, at the pats on the back, at the conference, the rankings and the polls and the stats and all those things, because it tends to cause you to lose sight of what's right here in front of you. Be where your feet are. And right here staring us in the face is a very dangerous Alabama A&M football team. Just came off a huge loss to their in-state rival, who mathematically knocked themselves out of contention for the Swac East. And so, they're going out to play spoiler. Try to knock off the #1 team in the conference, try to knock off one of the top teams, a ranked team. The morale that would give them to be able to say, hey, we're on a team this year that could beat Famu. That's their motivation. So we got to make sure we respect that. Again, we can ride high, we can pat ourselves on the back, we can do all those things, but we can also get caught, sleeping and find ourselves in a dogfight. And so, challenging the guys to lock in this week to focus on us, because it's about us. It's not really about Alabama A&M or about anything other than our ability to do the little things right that it takes to be successful. And that's our focus. And that keeps us from getting complacent. It keeps us from looking too far down the line, and hopefully gives us a chance to play our best football game this coming Saturday.
Coach, when we look out west and we see Colorado and UCLA, Coach Prime and Shador, and everybody across the country is competing, but that particular program and what Prime has been able to do, speak to that just a little bit. And in terms of Shador, he's a warrior. He's taken a lot of contact, but just speak to what you see when you see, again, a program that's going to be very formidable.
Well, obviously, I think a lot of the football enthusiasts have eyes on Colorado and what they're doing. Coach Prime is such a polarizing figure. So you read the comments, either people love him or they hate him, right? I'm fortunate to have a personal relationship with him. We text frequently, checking in on one another, praying for one another, and I'm optimistic about his success in his profession. And I know he's a great coach, and he's going to be able to recruit great student athletes. And right now they're being challenged. All right, there's some adversities that they're facing that they got to figure out how they're going to respond to it, what type of team they're going to be. After the first 3 weeks, they were the darlings of college football. Everyone was talking about them. It was on every commercial, it was on every newscast, it was on every podcast. Colorado football, Coach Prime, Shador, Travis Hunter. That's all people talked about. Well, then they dropped the game, and then they dropped another one. Then they were up big at halftime and allowed the team to come back and drop another one. And now they find themselves sitting here 4-4 with a very, very tough schedule remaining. And so, as any other coach in America, now it's time to test the character of his team. And I feel confident that coach will do that. And whatever the outcome is over the next few weeks, I think they're building a foundation there that has some staying power. The ability to attract top-tier student athletes is going to be critical. But again, it's their mindset of how they're going to approach, taking everyone's best shot. And we faced that same thing oftentimes in this conference, that I genuinely feel that everyone's going to give us their best shot for multiple reasons. And I feel the same way about Coach Prime and his Colorado football team. They're going to get everyone they play his best shot. That's just the nature of it. You saw the Oregon coach's pregame speech. You even heard some other guys' pregame speeches. I mean, it's almost like it's personal, right? And you can say coaching is personal, but I think it takes a little bit stronger connotation when it's those guys trying to show up the new kid on the block. You know, the new FBS football coach who only has 2 years of head coaching experience coming in, and who comes in with the flash and the caravan and the media team and all the things that Coach Prime brings with them. Those coaches are trying to prove a point. So Colorado's going to get everybody's best shot, and that's going to test their character. It's going to test coaches' ability to adapt to that. And again, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. And the same thing can be said about us in many aspects that those the chats roughing the Swac and some of those other, they're really looking to see how we're going to respond to being the top dog now, being the hunted instead of the hunter, and that's part of it. But always pulling. I pull for every coach that I have a personal relationship with. Many of them African American, and I want to see us all do well, because their success is our success. Our success is their success, because there's still a huge disparity in the amount of qualified minority candidates that will get opportunities to be head coaches at that level.
Coach, I've covered the MEAC, as you know, and HBCU football for years. Talk a little bit about Coach Buddy Pugh. This is his last season, obviously shedding it down, so to speak, at some point. But when you look over at the Bulldogs at South Carolina State University, and you see Coach Pugh, and obviously he has some gentlemen on his team who are warriors, who have done something that they can tell their grandchildren about. Talk a little bit about Buddy Pugh as we get into the last 3 weeks, if you will, of the MEAC.
Well, Coach is the godfather. He's the guy that we all look up to. Coach has had such a storied career there at South Carolina State. The championships, the NFL players, just what he stood for. His ability to galvanize that South Carolina State community. He's truly one of the greats. He's one of the GOATs of any generation. And it's been kind of his farewell tour. There are a lot of people paying close attention to what they're doing. And Coach, again, we have a personal relationship with him. I played my senior year at the Citadel with Coach Pugh's son, Bud. And so that relationship that we have spawns even before I got into the coaching profession. So he's a guy that I have the utmost respect for. Like most of us in this profession, we had some battles on the field together. One thing that I can say is I got the best of him. I think we're 2-1. I think I beat him twice and he beat me one time. And so again, just to be able to have that, to know that you coached against one of the legends, and to be able to have that memory means the world to me. And so definitely which coach, nothing but the best. The rest of the season, this is his last go round, unless he pulls a fast one on us like Buddy Pugh is liable to do. So I'll believe it's over when he finally hangs the whistle up and doesn't come back to a practice. But people don't know that Coach Pugh told us in 2018 that was his last year. All the head coaches in the conference, we had our head coaches meeting up in Norfolk, and he was the chairman of the head coaches committee, and told all of us that year it was going to be his last year. And 6 years later, he's still doing it. So again, Coach may decide after that 11th game that, hey, I got some more left in me, and I want to go do it again. And so, but if this is indeed his last year, obviously we're pulling for Coach, wish him nothing but the best, and he won't go away. Obviously, if he's not on the sideline roaming with the whistle, he'll still be there close to South Carolina State, because that's his home. He played there. His family's there, and he's an integral part of that community. And so that's not the last we'll see of old Buddy Pugh. This is indeed his last season.
Coach, in closing, are there any final comments you would make about Famu football as we move forward? And again, only 3 more games on the schedule. November 4th at Alabama A&M. You have California coming in, Lincoln, on November 11th, and then obviously the Florida Classic on the 18th in Orlando. But any final comments as we move forward and put a bookend on this particular broadcast?
No, I'm just excited about, again, what we are. We're extremely blessed. Thank everyone who participated this week. Again, amazing experience. It was dubbed the experience, and it was that and more. And so I hope everyone made it home safely. I hope everyone was able to get some rest and hydrate. We got to get back to our normal lives, our regular scheduled programming, so to speak. They asked me about some do's and don'ts last week. I said, do stay hydrated and get rest. Don't try to go to work on Monday. So hopefully some people took heed to that. But there are also some who will try to drag themselves to work tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. But again, just an amazing week, and just so blessed to be a part of this program. I can't say it enough about these young men, about the coaches, the support staff, Rattler Nation administration, everyone who dons the orange and green. It's a truly, truly special place, and I'm honored to be the leader of this great football program. And I look forward to higher heights. We've not, like you said, check one box. There are more that we have to check, and we're going to continue to work extremely hard to make sure that those boxes get checked.
Well, folks, there you have it from Coach Willie Simmons. They win homecoming as Famu gets past Prairie View A&M by a final score of 45-7. Famu lead with 3 more games remaining on the schedule, and their next particular game is on the road on Saturday as they play at Alabama A&M. I am James Hill. Thanks for watching James Hill Sports, and we will be right back.